look at, the only thing that's important over this 2 days, what is an unconscious moment and what is a conscious moment? What is unconscious information compared to conscious information or conclusions and guesses that I can ignore, all right? So let's look at unconscious moments come in 2 ways. And what I'm looking for, what this is telling me is the unconscious mind is expressing itself. And that's what I'm looking for. Sometimes I'll ask a question where the unconscious mind won't express itself, which means I can ignore what they tell me. What I'm looking for is if I ask a question, does it come with unconscious moments or not? And that leads me to the path that I need to go down. Does that make sense? So like one of the students said this really nicely, it's like chasing the tail of the unconscious moment. That's what we're trying to do, all right? So let's look at unconscious moments in 2 ways. We've got auditory unconscious moments and visual unconscious moments. Let's look at auditory. Let's create a list. What would tell me if I was listening that my client just expressed themselves unconsciously or that they're going to more unconscious territory or trance? What would I hear? What do you think?
They contradict themselves?
Contradict themselves. This is a huge one. I'm glad you brought that one up. Did everyone hear Helena contradict herself a lot? That's the conscious mind in action. Unconscious. Now, Jacob, if I was got a choice of which one to listen to, what would I listen to? What the conscious mind said or the unconscious mind said?
Unconscious.
Of course, every time. Okay. Now, people might say, well, that's a classic parts. I'm going to do a parts integration. No, you're not. Because now you're forcing it. Hopefully we'll see it. And Helena did a bit of this. She actually did a parts integration on herself. But where were the hands and the closure and the put it on your heart? You don't need that. You can do it verbally. Okay. And we'll talk about that later. Okay. So contradictions. Okay. We call these clashing realities. When a client says, I want to be up, but I also want to be down. I want to quit smoking, but I love smoking. I want to lose weight, but I love chocolate cake. Who's heard that? It's pretty classical from clients before. Okay. And just by not doing anything with it or doing a parts integration, you ask questions about that. You're now asking them questions about a part of them that is unconscious. So what do you think will happen when they try and explain the unconscious part? They'll go more into trance. So we're utilizing that unconsciousness. Everyone with me so far? Okay. So contradictions, clashing realities, same thing. What else?
Is it moment that is they just
so you ask a client a question like, what's the problem? They go, I've got you. I don't need to say anything. I'm just going to wait because they're going into trance. Okay. And this leads me into another thing. If you ever ask your client a question, guys, and they don't give you a response straight away, don't interrupt it. Don't rephrase the question because whatever you said there was beautiful because it got them to where you need them to be. Don't interrupt it. Also, don't add things to it. I could ask Jacob, okay, so you told me you want to quit smoking, but you love it. What are you looking for? Just as an example, what are you looking for that would allow you to love everything but smoking? Crazy, weird language, who cares? And he goes, oh, starts drooling, starts tipping over. It's going to let him go there. Don't have to do anything. Because where's the result going to come from? Where's the resource, this aha moment going to come from? The unconscious moment that he's in. He snaps out and goes, oh my God, Scott, I just thought of something I haven't thought about in 20 years. Great, what'd you think about? He's found something. So confusion, clashing realities. What else would we hear? Any ideas?
Silence.
Silence. Did everyone notice, and Helena, I hope you don't mind, I'm just using you as an example. Kyle would ask a question and she'd just look and smile at the camera because there was nothing going on. Beautiful. Let them sit in that. Don't interrupt it. But there's other times we ask a question and Helena came out with a lot of consciousness trying to give us a reason or an answer. I'm not interested in that. And you can hear the difference. The quality of information is different. When someone's speaking consciously, do you reckon it's very fast or very slow? What do you think?
Slow.
Okay, very slow. Okay, so when it's unconscious, very slow. When it's conscious, it's very fast. There's no thinking. It's like she's practiced that response so many times. Like, why can't you lose weight? Oh, because. And they practice it because they've told everybody that. I'm not interested in that excuse or that reason. Okay. What else? What would we hear, guys? What do you think?
Changes in pitch and volume.
Volume pitch. And if you're, for me, because I did a lot of my sessions over Skype, I can hear unconscious moments better than I can see them. And you guys will pick up your own way to do that. But volume and pitch, the way they express words, like they stretch the word out so it becomes more meaningful, this lets you know, aha, unconscious mind, I can see you, I can hear you. Let me keep asking about that. What else?
Sighing.
Sighing. Yep. We had it with Helena. She's trancing out now, thinking about stuff, and I just caught her. So it's good. There's something still going on, which is good. Okay. I'll ask a question, and she went, beautiful. Do that. Do more of that. Conscious. No. Come back to where you were. What just happened with that sighing out? Oh, I started to feel really weird. Isn't that weird? And you start utilizing that. What else?
Talking like a child.
Sorry, Sandra, I think that was. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just saying, I've noticed some people just kind of start to talk like a child, like very, very simple language. And yeah, it's quite strange.
What's that classically known as in more traditional senses?
Regression.
Regression.
Age regression. But did we force it? No. So it's going to be a hell of a lot more powerful if it comes naturally. Okay. People, especially therapists, I was when I first started, obsessed with like the hand levitations and sticking clients to the seat. They'd go, can you show us how to do that? What's the point in forcing it? Wait for it to happen naturally, utilize it, make it seem like you did it. That's what Erickson did. People would say he's really good at doing catalepsy on clients. No, he's not. He's just good at catching it and making it seem like he did it. Then all the geniuses came in, wrote scripts and wrote words down, tried it on their clients. It didn't work because it was organic. Does that make sense? What else might we hear, guys?
Laughter.
Laughter. Now, in one of the sessions, I think it's number 5 or 6 training. I can't remember the guy's name. We did the session, and he said, "No, I don't think it worked." Who was there for that? Does anyone remember his name? Okay, whatever his name was, find it. So it was on day 2, so we're doing a full session. He said, "Oh, I don't think it worked. I feel okay." I said, "Okay, cool."
Tom.
Then about 5 minutes later, I'm talking to everybody else, and he burst out laughing and didn't stop for about 20 minutes. He could not control himself. All the time he's telling me it didn't work. And I'm like, okay, that's what you consciously think. And then he couldn't stop laughing. And about 2 days later, he messaged me. I won't show you what the message is. It's quite cool. The stuff he was working on didn't matter. The stuff he got was incredible. I wish I would have charged him for that, but a lot of good stuff. But you guys were there. He couldn't stop laughing. And I said, "What's this about? What are you laughing for?" I thought it didn't work. And he laughed even more. He couldn't stop because the unconscious mind had to catch up with what was going on. And that was the resource coming out. Does that make sense? Okay. So laughter's a big one. Crying, we'll talk about abreactions on day 2. There's a big difference between an abreaction compared to emotions. Emotions are good. Emotions are very good. If you think of solving a problem as in just letting go, helping a client let go of that memory so they can't see it the same, or just my favorite, letting all of that emotion out. It's like the fuel that keeps the problem going. Laughter, crying, might have clients throw up on you. I've had clients throw up on me. I've had clients defecate on my couch. Whatever it is, they let go. It's annoying, it's frustrating, but it's just letting that stuff go. Why? Once they let that all go and they go back to look at the problem again, it can no longer look the same. That's all it takes. Becomes malleable again. When our problems get stuck, we see them the same. Every time we think about that problem, we get sucked into the problem the same. It's like a loop. You can't get out of it. But if they get sucked into the problem there, and instead of looping this way, as an example, it loops this way, it can no longer be the same. And they can find their way out of it. Okay? So laughing, emotions, the energy comes out. What else do you think we might hear?
Repetitive words, Scott.
Sorry, Ivan, say that again.
Repetitive words.
Yeah, so they keep coming back to the same theme over and over. Now, what happens with this, you've got to listen for that theme. If you, let's say Rob's my therapist, and I keep saying the word like, I want to connect, blah, 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 blah. I want to connect, blah, blah, blah. And he keeps missing it. Eventually, my unconscious mind says, well, you know what? Screw you. You're not listening to me. I'm not going to tell you anymore. The unconscious mind gets very childlike that. Okay? That's why you got to listen. How can you listen when you're too busy doing this shit? Because now you're talking at your client. That's a very harsh way to do therapy. Anything else we might hear? What do you reckon?
Somebody might talk about,
Go ahead, Dee.
somebody might, yeah, Deb, sorry, I need to change my name on there. Like symbols or stories, analogies. So
Clients come out with analogies, stories, examples, metaphors. Helena gave us a nice metaphor being on stage, and Jacob, that's where we picked up that metaphor. Okay, how do we use that metaphor? People want to know, how do I tell stories and use metaphors? You wait for your clients to tell you, you jump on it and make it seem like you created it. Same thing. So
She also did the diving board. Sorry, she did the diving board on the sharks too.
Yeah, plenty of metaphors. That lets me know the conscious mind is really not taking, not playing part in this, and that's what I want. Okay, metaphors. Conscious is more excuses. It'll never work because I'll never be rich because I'll never be happy because. That's conscious, and it's very fast. It's practiced. Anything else we might hear?
Linking to a pain in the body or an experience in the body.
Yep. So that'll be more of a sensation thing, but absolutely. And we'll talk about that on day 2. I'll introduce you to something called the ETM, emotional trance method. And that's how we play with emotion. We did a bit of that with Kyle because it came up organically. So yep, listening out for emotions, feelings, sensations. What else? Anything else?
Voice catching and breaking.
Go ahead, Ivan. What was that?
There was one that you referred to in one of the other trainings, which was hot words. So it was like it was the word, but there was movement and motion in a way. Can you explain or define that a bit more?
Yeah, so that's the same as a process instruction. So when Helena was saying, I want to feel connected, I feel high. And Kyle said, okay, there you are feeling high or whatever, or getting higher still. That's the hot word. That's the unconscious word. That's what that is. Same thing. Anything else, guys? That's a pretty good list. Anything else we can think of?
Doing like a catch or a break in the voice.
Yeah,
I noticed Helena at several points like got a little bit of vocal fry. There was tightness in her throat.
Yep.
And it's like she was really putting emotion into something she was saying because there was like a pathos in it.
Yep, that's the things you look for. Now, all of these are just, we're speculating here. By putting attention on it, we're basically testing it. Did I get this right? But sometimes you hit a dead end, as we did. Okay, but yeah, you're listening for those things. Anything else, guys?
Coffee.
One of the things I notice is
Coffee?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Tom.
one of the things I notice is just the slowing down and speeding up. And it may be paradoxical, but you would think that the slowing down would be conscious because you're trying to think of which words to use, but it might perhaps actually be unconscious.
Very unconscious, because they have to slow down to find that unconscious information. And doesn't that work in our favor? Because where is that information before they need it? Unconscious. Where does trance live? Unconscious. And this is what I mean, if we go back to basics, why we don't do hypnosis. We don't split it up like relaxation, suggestibility test, walk down the stairs, whatever else they do before you get to the therapy. You spend 50 minutes doing the hypnosis and 10 minutes on the therapy. I'd rather do 59 minutes on the therapy and 1 minute on testing. Done. Hypnosis is at its best when it's organic, when it's natural. When you try and force it, it's telling your kids to go clean the room again. It doesn't work too well. Okay? So when a client's looking for information, don't interrupt them. Let them search. They'll do the, they'll get lost in this thought, sit back, put a big smile on your face and just wait. Some golden, juicy stuff is going to come out. That's a horrible metaphor. We'll come up with something better, I'm sure. With me so far? What about, so this works really well, guys. Does anyone do clients on Zoom without a camera? I used to all the time. I hated the camera. So learning to listen for unconscious moments will work in your favor. Seeing them is easy. The ones I'm listening for the most, which is a bit paradoxical because I'm trying not to listen, but I hear them the best, are the clashing realities. When two things don't make sense in the same reality. And by asking people about that, bang, takes them out wherever they need to go, okay? Visual, what are we looking for? What could we see that is trance?
Eye movement.
Eye movement. What else?
Thinking.
Thinking. Definitely see thinking. You hear it as well, which is good.
Blinking.
Sorry, yell it out louder, guys. Sorry.
Blinking.
Blinking. Yep. Eye movement, blinking, thinking. What else?
Change in skin tone?
Yeah, change in skin tone. You can see that stuff. If you can, like, if you've got a good camera, you'll be able to see that stuff. What else?
Sighing.
Oh, sorry. Say that again, guys.
Eyes
Changing
closing.
hair.
Eyes closing. So everyone's obsessed with this eye closure thing. All eye closure does in the context of even traditional trances is stop distraction. Does nothing. I mean, we're not even going to talk about is it alpha waves, beta wave? Care about any of that stuff. Because that's now saying that a client has to go a certain depth before I can do the therapy. No, you don't. A client will go as deep as they need to go because the information is as deep as it needs to be. Does that make sense? So whether my client's in a light trance, a deep trance, a cataleptic drooling on myself trance and hallucinating, I don't care. Doesn't that take the pressure off you guys? Try and force it. Okay, that's that laziness coming up, but it works in your favor, works in your client's favor as well. Okay, so eye closure, if my client closes her eyes, so be it. If we would have kept on Helena and kept pushing her, she would have gone there. And as soon as her eyes would have closed, I would have said, there you go, eyes closed now. And everyone said, oh my God, that's what he said, that's the language pattern. What could I say it exactly? We just jumped on it as soon as it happened and made it seem like I did it. But eye closure, I'm not concerned about. Okay, anything else we might see, guys?
Changing hair.
So, sorry, Jacob, say it again.
Changing hair, adjusting, changing appearance.
We had
taking off glasses, any adjustment of appearance. Yeah,
we had one, can't remember her name, I apologize, one of the first trainings we did, and she was talking about being confined and being a mother at home and not having freedom, and her hair was tied up in a bun, really, really tight. And as we had the breakthrough, she pulled the thing out, waved her hair around, and that was the metaphor for like, now I'm changing. Very quick.
And Helena did that too. She changed her hair direction to become Hellstern.
Yeah, did you notice that at the time?
Completely opposite direction.
Yeah. And again, we could be speculating, but we can test those things. And because she might not know she did it, we say, what was that hair flick about? She'd go, what? Did I just do that? Gotcha. That's how I know it was unconscious, and that's a very good thing. Okay. So Erickson was a big fan in this. He'd always say, I always watch what my clients wear when I'm doing therapy, because what they wear and how they present themselves tells me a lot about the problem they have. We won't get into that story, but that's just always be visually aware. What else might we see, guys?
Facial changes.
Facial changes. Yep.
Itching.
Was that itching?
Movements, twitching.
Yep. Twitching.
Movements, itching, all of that.
You might get a lot of unconscious movements where a client keeps going like that on their forehead. And you see it once or twice or 3 times and you go, hang on, what's that about, Jacob? What's what? You keep scratching your head for? Was I? I didn't even know I was. There it goes again. Can't stop now. I don't know what it is, but it's the unconscious mind expressing itself.
Yeah, so sometimes when certain words or a feeling they feel, they'll just have a habit of touching their nose. I had one client do that.
Perfect. And you've got to be very visually aware. Now, we'll point out something while we're doing the unconscious moments thing. Because the question will come up, when I see an unconscious moment, what do I do with it? So a lot of people are taught, which is, my client's feeling a sensation, I should give it a name, give it a color, tell them to break it in half. No, don't do a thing with any of this stuff. Just notice it. Now, if I'm working with Jacob and he says, oh, I'm feeling this circle in my stomach that's spinning really, really fast, I might say, well, what do you want to do with it instead? Which would mean, if that's the problem, how would you like to not have this problem? That's that sort of metaphor. Why would me asking him to do something with this unconscious moment be a very bad thing? Why do you think that would be?
Then you're directing it. Like you're putting your idea on it, you're forcing it. Just like the same as if you're telling them to go into trance, you're telling the unconscious mind, hey, I'm working on you.
Yeah. It's like saying the unconscious mind, I know more than you, and it goes, okay, smartass, good luck. Okay. As soon as I start telling a client what to do with a feeling or a thought, I'm now saying, I want you to change based on what I want for you. And that's very limiting. Who's to say Jacob just doesn't have to sit there and let that thing spin and do what it wants to do? And I'm just going to sit there and go, strange, isn't it? Because, yeah, keep spinning. I know. There it is, spinning away. Now it's stopped. I had a feeling it stopped. It's weird, isn't it? And he's doing
also
it himself.
Sorry. There's also the assumption that the spinning was a problem in the first place.
Exactly. If I'm assuming, I'm now working. I don't want to think. I don't want to work. I just want to sit there and notice what does. Irina, go for it.
I'm thinking about that famous clip of Erickson with the woman where he has her change her hands.
Yeah.
And that seems, that's something that he did to change things.
Yeah. What you see Erickson does is way beyond even my comprehension. Because a lot of the stuff he violates that I talk about,
yeah,
the stuff he does, again, why he was doing certain things, he had how many senses are there? 6, 7 sense, 6. What's that movie, Sixth Sense? So he had like a sixth sense where he knew what to do, even if he forced it, and it happened to be the right thing. Fuck knows how he did that. That's beyond genius. To make it easier, I just say don't do anything with it. Let the client do it.
I see.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else we might see, guys? It's been helpful so far. What else? Jolie, go.
Is swinging the body
Yeah.
side to side or forward, backwards.
Yep. So you might see a client doing this. Okay. You might start doing that as well. Now, this whole thing of matching and mirroring, don't start doing it because they're doing it, because now you're forcing it. If you happen to do it, so be it. Okay. Anything else we might see?
Searching for information, like looking around, trying to find.
Yeah. And again, it comes up, well, if they're looking up there, is that visuals, this auditory? Who cares? I don't care where they go for the information. The information they get is sometimes least important than the adventure they went on to go and try it, to go and find it. Is that lapse of consciousness where they go from very conscious to, oh, Tom asked me a good question. What do I want? And then 5 minutes later, they snap out of and go, hang on, what? Where were we? Beautiful. Whatever that was, that's done something really, really unique to the problem. Does this take a lot of pressure off you guys? Wondering, what do I do with it? What do I say? Do I change it? Do I give it a color, a name? You don't have to do any of that stuff. As soon as you start telling clients what to do, you're negating what we're talking about. I'll come to you, Kathy, in a moment. Sonia, go for it.
I often find clients yawning. It's like, and it's almost when there's a release or a breakthrough that comes with a yawning expression.
Yeah, that's just the mental exhaustion of looking for the information and coming out unconscious each time. Who's noticed, even if you've been a demo subject, even after being in a demo or with a client, they become really exhausted, like there's no more words, they just want to sit there. That's a good thing. Let them be in that. That's usually the end of the session, but it doesn't have to be like that every time, but it'll let you know that just mentally exhausted. And it's a good idea to finish the session because you're not going to get much out of them anyway. Okay.
Deep breathing.
Very deep breathing. Could be very rapid breathing. And what's good to know, you look at this list, guys, there's no wrong or right. One unconscious moment is not better than the other. As long as you see something on that list, let's say I've got a list of 30 and I notice one of those things. What does that tell me about the thing I did just before that unconscious moment showed itself? What does that tell me?
You're on the right track.
That's it. I'm on the right track. So if I ask a question to Jackie and she has an unconscious moment, she comes out with an answer, big smile on her face, can't stop laughing. Whatever that question was, I'm going to ask something similar. I'm going to ask about the response she just gave me. And I just keep going down there. I might hit a brick wall somewhere and I can always come back to that. That just lets me know I'm on the right track. If you're asking, let's say 5 questions in a row and you're getting no unconscious moments, what has that told you?
You're heading in the wrong direction.
That's it. You haven't screwed it up.
No.
Yeah, you just go back and ask another question. You take a step back and you look for the things you've been missing. And I'll get more show to do that. Kathy, question?
Yes. There were a couple of times in appearances that if I brought it to the client's attention, they went into conscious response. So
Yes.
it actually pulled them out of unconscious.
Yeah. And that's the risk you run. If you start talking too much or you ask questions with too much information, you start pulling them out of unconsciousness.
Okay. Yeah. The most recent one that I remember is they started playing with their hair, with their hand. And I said, I noticed you're playing with your hair. What's that about?
Yep.
And they started going into this total consciousness about, I haven't washed it for a while. And
yeah. And again, it's not the wrong thing. The fact you caught it is a good thing. We just have to take a step back and you ask the question to get out of jail free card, which is, I'm a little bit confused. Where are we right now? Just remind me what the problem is.
Okay.
Okay. Has everyone got a good list?